Preparedness Expo 90. Are we coming through out there? Okay. Preparedness Expo 92 is pleased to have you here today and to present to you our next speakers, George and Desiree Green. As the Greens are lecturing, no, it's not coming through. We'll try this one. If one doesn't work, they say you try the other one. Now we're coming through out there. Let's start over. You ready? I sure am glad you're here today. Preparedness Expo 92 is proud to present our next speakers, and we're so glad that you're here on this first day of the Preparedness Expo. Do keep in mind, as the Greens are speaking, that the lecture is being both audio and videotaped professionally, and you can have this lecture to take home with you this very afternoon. Now again, being in a brand new auditorium from what we were last year, as you walk out of the auditorium and directly to your left, you'll find the place that you can get an audio tape of the lecture this afternoon of George and Desiree Green. George and Desiree are the publishers of the provocative Phoenix Journal, which covers many of the issues of world events not reported by the news media. Some of the topics include why the UFO cover-up, controlled Earth and weather changes, genetic experimentation, and what our government is doing. Let's give, if you will, George and Desiree Green a great round of applause.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. Is everyone hearing me? No? Louder. It needs to be louder. Is that better? Is that okay now? Everybody can hear? Thank you. First of all, I want to thank you all for coming. This is an exciting event. I believe this is their fourth Survival Preparedness Expo in Salt Lake. And we have been invited as guest speakers for the first time to Salt Lake, although we have spoken here before. George and I met in 1981 in Denver, Colorado, and were married in 1986. My husband has been in the business world prior to our publishing business. And basically, 3 years ago, our whole lives have been turned upside down in what I now, in retrospect, look back as a wake-up call from our Creator, from God. And it basically, the Phoenix Journals are the books that we will be introducing and talking about during the course of today, tomorrow, and the next day. There is so much information that George and I have been traveling across the United States and Canada doing seminars, and normally we take 3 to 4 to 5 hours with, absolutely no restriction of time. So we are having a challenge to give you enough information in the short amount of time that we do have. So today, our subject matter, I'm going to introduce and tell you a little bit about how we got started in the publishing aspect of the Phoenix Journals, where the resource is, and then what the next 2 days of our discussions will be about, since that we have so much material to cover. Back in 1989, George and I received a strange document in the mail that said the following people are under my protection, and it listed about 30 individuals. At that time, we were living in San Diego, California, and my husband had basically retired, and I was a volunteer at Children's Hospital, and I played tennis, so we were very much in the superficial material world, or very much involved in that. When we got that document, my husband investigated, and the being that signed his name to it said he was Yorgos Series Hatonn, commander-in-chief of a spaceship, and we thought this was Star Trek or some joke or something like that. We thought it was totally crazy, and many of you may think so as well. But since that time, the reason they contacted us was they told us that our country and our world is undergoing a tremendous change, a tremendous transition, spiritually as well as economically and geophysically and politically as well. So they have come, they said, to bring us what they call the Word. They refer to themselves as the hosts of God. Basically, extraterrestrial beings from another place in time, another place in space, which we can only conceive of at this time. But they claim that they are here to awaken mankind to the massive lies upon our planet in 4 different areas, basically: the geopolitical, the economic, historical lies and cover-ups, as well as social, and as well as religious and spiritual. Basically, what they're telling us is, in those areas, encompasses so much material. Since that time in 1989, they have published, or we have received, in excess of 55 journals, which they call the Phoenix Journals, which are dated and timed as to transmission, and each subject is signed in and signed out like a captain's log. So they refer to these documents, because I'm speaking as to what they have told us, as sort of the Dead Sea Scrolls, or the historical documents for this time frame as we as a species go through our transition. They say that these documents will be documents, as well as others, that will document whether we are able to make drastic changes within ourselves in alignment with the laws of God and creation. And in that way, we will uplift our spiritual evolution and have a brotherhood of humankind, basically, on the planet. Or whether we actually are devoured in the destructive mode, which means that many will perish in the physical, but that they say there will also be a remnant to continue the species on and to continue God's work on. So their message on the spiritual level, I feel, encompasses the best aspects, the best fundamental principles of every religion, and basically enhances those into a higher understanding of what those mean and what our purpose is to our Creator and to one another on this planet, in order to bring about balance within ourselves and also on the planet. So during the course of this day, since we only have a 45-minute time frame, George will be talking about the economic and a little bit about the political messages that they've brought us, and also from our experience, because George was in the banking business. He was also a securities principal and also a real estate developer. So he has a keen understanding of financial matters and monitors that himself and measures that, because we measure everything that we receive from this source, this resource, because it is so unusual and so strange for us. But the thing I want you to realize, the only reason that I am choosing to represent this material is because, to me, it has changed my life so tremendously. It has caused me to look at myself in relationship to God. It has caused me to look at the laws, to look at my values, to check my own ego, to try to understand the purpose of life and myself in ways that I never dreamed of before this time. So I continue to support the work that they bring because of that. It has caused me to think in ways that I never have before. Also, much of the information that they bring is actually verified in the human realm as far as the political, economic, and socioeconomic. There are many, many messengers, and that's what they basically call us, is that we're speakers on behalf of their message, and they have called themselves basically the hosts. They say that they are coming to prepare us for the return of the Christ being, however we view that return. They say he's on a spaceship, which to a lot of people sounds totally outrageous. I choose to say, well, we'll just wait and see, because I know in my heart he's coming to reclaim this place for God, and that those of us who choose to align our wills with the will of God, however we view our religion, the basic fundamental ideal of living life and love principle that he brought is what we basically are efforting to live our lives by. Loving one another and giving to each other in the best way we know how. So with that, I want to release this to George because he has a lot to talk to you about. Tomorrow, he'll go more into detail about the socioeconomic and some of the geophysical changes. Also, some of the technology that the hosts tell us that we have on this planet that has been hidden from us. And then on Saturday, for those of you who attend our lecture, we're going to be giving this book. This is the rule book, they say. It basically encompasses the 10 Commandments and the laws. And there's 8 additional cosmic laws, as well as how to recognize the Antichrist within you and the deadly sins that keep you out of alignment with God. So we're going to give this book away to all of you who attend our Saturday lecture. That lecture, we get an hour and a half. So we're going to show slides, pictures of actual UFO craft from a case that we investigated in Switzerland by Billy Meyer. He was the contactee there. So we have a nice slideshow, and then at that time, I will speak a little bit more on some of the spiritual messages, some of my personal experiences and insights on those, and I am most willing to share your insights and your feelings, and I would like to see us unite and find the things that we have in common with one another, because we have to unite as a people in order to bring back balance in this country so that we can be the light for the rest of the world. I believe we can do it, but it's going to take a lot of work individually as well as globally. But it starts individually. It starts with each one of us. So I want to thank you, and may God be with you and at the center of all of your choices. Thank you.
Thank you. Everybody happy with the election? How many people know that the actual information we get from our space brothers that Clinton didn't win the vote? How many people here were told that 2 days before the transition team was given $5 million already set up in office? Interesting? Let me tell you a little bit about my background. I was involved with that so-called elite group, only involved on a peripheral basis because I was a real estate developer across the United States doing big projects. My last project was $100 million. I was asked to be the finance chairman for Jimmy Carter, just to give you an idea. When they asked me that, I said, wait a minute, why? And they said, well, we owe you a favor. And I said, well, wait a minute, I'm a Republican. And they laughed, and they says, don't you know we control them both? I want you to remember that, because in the room, I had 3 members of the Trilateral Commission. Pierre Trudeau, Teddy Kennedy, okay? Just to give you an idea of some of the power. There's others there also. But it made me reflect and look back at my life, because I thought everything was hunky-dory. This is a free country. We had the ability to do what we wanted to if we were relatively smart. They think, and I'm going to use the terminology that we shared as I ran around with them, that you basically are what we call expendable containers, unless you're smart enough to get up to their position. Now, let me tell you a little bit about what's planned, because I sat in on some of these meetings, and I sat in on the program, and there's a plan that was put into force called the Plan 2000. Anybody familiar with that? Some of you are. Let me explain to you the Plan 2000 and how it's going to affect you. The Plan 2000 is for the global control of this planet by a elect few called the New World Order. Now, they may change the name because they kind of got it old. They don't tell you who's going to run this New World Order, but I will tell you by charter it's the United Nations, and it says in the United Nations Charter it's a Russian general. Currently, Marshal Agarkov is the Russian general. They are prepared at this minute, frankly, to attack the United States. I just want you guys to get ready for it. What you're seeing in the news media that is totally controlled is a lie. Now, I'm here today to talk to you economically because, again, my background lends into that. I was a bank director. As I said, a real estate, if you want to call them. I used to build shopping centers, office buildings, motels, and restaurants. So whatever you want to call me, a developer. I built the Village Inn pancake houses right here in Salt Lake City, to give you an idea. I put the money up for the American Family Lodge Motel. I got to play the game pretty well with insurance companies and banks, so I knew what they were doing. Let me tell you something, they're all running scared. Currently, there's over 200 banks and approximately $500 billion in deficits according to the rules under FDIC that they're ready to close down. They already told you the date, December 16th. 500 billion. Folks, we're 4 trillion in debt. We're going in the hole, $1.2 billion every day. You know how much $1 billion is? Let me give you a relationship. It's $10,000, $100,000 homes. And who are we going to in the hole to? Did they tell you who that is? The Federal Reserve. Who is the Federal Reserve? It's a private banking system that was organized against our constitutional rules originally. If you take a look at the last check that you wrote to the Internal Revenue Service, if you were, excuse my French, stupid enough to pay them, because it's a voluntary system, and they told you it's voluntary, if you look on the back of it, it says pay to the order of the Federal Reserve. Then the money goes to the Bank of International Settlements in Switzerland. They've set us up for what they call the massive collapse of the United States to merge us into the New World System. All of the world leaders are involved with this thing, including Clinton. They know what's going on. How many of you know when Clinton was in Moscow? Do you think he was over there organizing something? He certainly